How are you today? I hope you're doing amazing. And if not, maybe I can give you a little something that can help. Um, it, a question. If I ask you to give me 20 things, positive attributes about yourself, go. How many attributes do you think you could rattle off for me? Now, me, at this moment in my life, I could probably give you a good strong 15. But there was a time in my life where I would have struggled to give you three. And that's because of who I used to be. What I want to talk about is loving yourself. This is part two. I don't know how many parts this will be, but right now, for today, this is part two that I want to kind of share something with you, a bit of my journey that may help you. When I was going through the period of time in my life where I wasn't necessarily in the best place, I didn't feel the best about myself, could probably give you quite a few negative attributes about myself. But when I began to look at those negative attributes, it began to help me to see where I needed to do my work. My shadow work, some people call it shadow work, some people call it the tough stuff, some people call it the suck part, right? When I began to focus on those things, it was important for me to have that list of things that I really needed to work on. So the list was valuable, although the attributes that I was listing were not necessarily the greatest values, okay? But when it comes to beginning to love yourself, what you have to do is to give yourself positive feedback to yourself. Now, I heard something somewhere where they said that it is genius to talk to yourself. And I must admit, I talk to myself on a regular basis. And the reason is because sometimes I want the advice of an expert. And, well, I mean, who knows me better than me, right? So I talk to myself a lot. And one of the things that I began to do when I woke every morning and decided to do those three things, gratitude, humility, and clarity, seeking clarity, I began to realize how important it was to celebrate the small things. Now, what happens when you celebrate the small things is you begin to see that you actually do have some positive attributes. For me, celebrating small things would be me waking up in the morning and smiling at my wife. Now, that seems like something very simple, like not that big of a deal. But for my wife, it meant the world, because I used to wake up not in the greatest of moods. And it would be 30 minutes to an hour before I even wanted to talk. Now, my wife is an extrovert. She likes to talk. She likes to interact. That's her thing. So I started smiling, and every morning I made it a point to smile at her whenever we would wake up. Small victories. So I thought to myself, you have a pleasant smile. That's a positive attribute. Being able to smile first thing in the morning is a positive attribute. And not only did it make me feel better, but it made my wife feel better. Not made her feel better. I have to be very careful saying words like that, because really we choose how we're going to feel every day, regardless to how people feel or think about us. But as it relates to loving yourself, I believe it's important to list positive attributes about yourself to yourself. See, oftentimes we look to other people to give us that positivity. We look to other people to tell us what we want to know about ourselves. Now, sometimes people do that for us, and I'm sure it's a great feeling. But if you're honest with yourself, that feeling is fleeting because it's not something you yourself believe. So if you decide, I'm going to begin to list the positive attributes about myself, I'm going to begin to see myself as an amazing person. If you begin to do that, what you'll find is you begin to feel better about yourself. Because when you think about it, how do we belittle ourselves or down ourselves? By saying negative little things every day, all day, day after day after day after day. And eventually we begin to believe those things. As parents, if you tell your child, wow, you're smart. I love how smart you are. And that's something you say on a regular basis, that child begins to believe that they're smart. If you say something different, then that child begins to believe that. See, it's not about perfection in the blink of an eye. It's not about figuring all this stuff out immediately. What it's about is every day doing something towards a better you. And so loving yourself It starts with you telling you that you're pretty cool. Do you have issues to work on? Absolutely. I have issues to work on every day. I make mistakes every day. I look at things and I say stuff and I say to myself, I should have said something differently there. I didn't have to say that. That didn't have to come across that way, right? So the mistakes are there. You're going to make those. But as you begin to love yourself, begin to think better about who you are, begin to celebrate those little victories and take those positive attributes and say them to yourself on a regular basis. At first, it may sound like a hustle. May sound like you're telling a little fib. You're lying a little bit. You may seem a little sketchy to yourself. But as you continue to do it, you will begin to see, you know what? That actually is a positive attribute. I am a positive person. I can laugh and I can joke and I can make others laugh, right? I have the ability to see the silver lining. I have the ability to take complicated concepts and bring them down to simplicity and be able to explain them to someone else. Like those are just wonderful little attributes that I have, that I found out about myself. So today I want to challenge you to think about you, to think about how amazing you are. Start a list of all of those positive attributes. I would encourage you to write them down, because writing something down makes it real. It becomes something that's etched in stone. And if you can't get to a pen or type on a computer or a pad or a phone, speak to yourself, talk to yourself, tell yourself that, hey, like I'm the best person ever. No, that don't do that, because that's not true. But give yourself permission to be happy about your little accomplishments, your small triumphs that you experience on a daily basis, and then apply those to attributes about yourself. I guarantee you'll begin to feel better. I guarantee it. So I want you to have an amazing day. That is an order, and I'll see you next time.